Alright, now we got our guitar and amp, let's talk about learning. Once again, this section is mostly designed for people who want to self-teach. I'm a guitar teacher myself, so I know the best way to learn at the beginning is definitely having a teacher, but not everyone could afford it or have the time. So naturally, self-teaching become a lot of people's first option. And commonly, I will get people asking, can I learn guitar on my own? And the answer is absolutely. Frankly, if you put your mind to it and have access to the resources you need, you can literally teach yourself anything. In this case, you just need a guitar. So with the amount of resources available online today, it's 100% possible to teach yourself guitar. Actually, I'm a living proof of that is possible. I took only 2 semesters of acoustic guitar lessons in high school. During that time, I learned the basic open chords, a typical beginner strumming pattern, and one basic finger picking style, which was Dust in the Wind by Kansas. After that, I was kind of on and off with guitar for 2 years until I got to college. Now, in my first year in college, I started to play more and eventually got myself an electric guitar, and then everything changed when someone asked me to play some Metallica. That was a turning point because it was like I found my drug. I got obsessed and just couldn't put the guitar down. During summer vacation, I would spend 10 to 12 hours a day playing, some days even more than 12. And I went back to school blowing my floor mates' mind because I went from barely playing a full song to coming back playing Master of Puppets and One by Metallica, the full song with all the solos. And from there, I'll just play songs I enjoyed, practice repeatedly until I could play them at full speed. And there were plenty of songs that just were completely out of my range at the time, and when that happens, I'll just move on and play something else and come back to it later. Sometimes that's years later, many years later. So yes, it is absolutely possible to teach yourself how to play the guitar. However, I do want to be realistic because while it's possible, self-teaching may not be for everyone. People learn differently, and some people may just learn better with more direct instruction. Some people may just learn better figuring out things on their own. So that said, there are certain skills that will make self-teaching much easier and faster. If you already have these skills, great. If not, then don't worry. All these skills can 100% be developed over time. So here are the 4 skills that will help you succeed as a self-teaching guitarist.
By the way, welcome to the channel.
This video is part of the playlist called the Ultimate Starter Guide for Guitarists. In this series of videos, I answer all the most frequently asked questions from people who want to learn guitar but don't know where to start. This part of the playlist is all about learning with a specific focus on self-teaching. Now, if you're brand new and you want to learn more about your gear like your guitar or your amp, or you just don't know which one to get, be sure to check out the previous section, which is all about equipment. Now, in addition to videos, I also have a written version of the guide, which is more in depth, and I have a whole bunch of gear recommendations there as well. If you find this information helpful, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel and share this playlist with your guitarist friends. Now, with that out of the way, let's get back to the topic. Number 1, good musical sense. What is it? Well, it's pretty straightforward. It's the ability to hear whether or not you're playing tune, in key, or on time. No, it is not at all perfect pitch, which is the ability to hear a musical note you hear without any reference, or produce a given note like singing out without hearing that note before. Now, why is that important? Well, without a teacher, you will need to rely on your own ear to know if you're playing on time or playing in key or just generally playing correctly. So how do you develop that? Before we do that, let's do a quick ear test. Alright, I'm going to play you 3 guitar audio files. They're all the same, but you have to tell me which guitar is out of tune. Alright, here's guitar 1. Here's guitar 2. Here's guitar 3. Alright, are you ready for the result? The answer is all 3 guitars are out of tune. Did you get it right? So what if my ears aren't very sensitive and I completely butchered that little quick test? Well, no problem, because like I said before, musical sense is not at all perfect pitch, and it's something you can learn. Actually, researchers have already proven that even perfect pitch can be developed later in adulthood as well. So here are some general things you can do to improve. Number 1, play. Play your guitar. Your musical sense will naturally develop the more you play. The more you use your ears and think about what you're hearing, the more sensitive it becomes. It's that easy. Hence why I don't often advise my beginner students to think about ear training. Instead, I encourage my students to play along with music, preferably playing to a backing track without the guitar part. By playing this way, you will really have to hear and feel your own playing. And on top of that, you should also record yourself. even if it's just for yourself, so you can listen and watch yourself. And the number 2 things you can do is listen, listen, and listen. When you're not playing, you should be listening to music as much as you can. The reason is exactly the same as playing. On top of listening, you should actually try to actively listen and mentally process the music elements that you listen to and not let it become background noise. And most importantly, this I really need to stress, you need to listen to more than one genre. A lot of people are just, locked into the genre they like. If you're like that, you really need to convince yourself to break it out of just that genre. Because listening to a wide range of music will really help you develop your musical sense. When you start doing that, you expose yourself to all kinds of musical elements in ways that you're not used to. So that will really sharpen your ears. And number 3, sing when you play. This one is kind of like an active exercise. When you practice a skill, sing the note. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. You don't have to sing the note, just ma, 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 ma. Or when you play a melody, just sing the melody. And when I say sing, don't just mumble in your throat. Sing it out loud. It's okay if you're not a singer, the goal is not to sing beautifully. Or maybe it is if you're a singer. This is just to allow your body to physically feel the pitch and compare to what you hear. And number 4 is use training app or ear training drills. But let me just repeat again that I don't think this is necessary for complete beginners. If you have the time and you're inspired to do it, sure, go ahead. But use it as a supplement. At the end, the goal is to learn the instruments because you can practice so hard and then you develop perfect pitch. But what good is that perfect pitch gonna do if you can't do something musical on your instrument? Hey, I heard you've been practicing guitar. Want to play us something? Sure, name me a note. Sure, A? Oh, that's an A. Cool. Do you know any song, any solo, something that you've been practicing? Shh. Do you hear that, fan? That is a B flat in 432 hertz. Haha, perfect pitch, bro. And then number 2 is keen observation. Auditory and visual observation. And what is that? Well, it's ability to closely watch and listen to what other guitarists are doing and then copy it. And why is it important? Well, it helps you learn new techniques, riffs, and styles by watching and listening. And how do you develop this? Well, to be frank, there's not much to develop. Because all you need to do is just watch someone play the song you want to and watch it very closely. Pay attention to what the player is doing, their hand position, where is the player's index finger, what string is it on? Can you figure out what fret that is? How about the finger movements? Do they move it? Do they use their pinky or not? In the past, before the internet days, it is hard to do that. But now you have YouTube and you have speed control. This has become so easy. So every time you want to learn a song or something, go online and watch other people do it and observe, observe, observe. Number 3 on the list, we have analytical skills. Now, what is analytical skills in terms of guitar learning? It is the ability to break down problems, figuring out what's going wrong, and find a solution all on your own. Why is that important? Well, without a teacher, you'll have to self-diagnose and troubleshoot your own problems. So how do you develop that? Well, break things down first and ask yourself a lot of questions. Let's say you're having trouble pressing a chord. How can I adjust my hand position to make that reach easier? Do I see other players doing that, or does it hurt my hands? Is there another place where I can play this note? Just from one example, I already asked a ton of questions, and many can be answered on your own. Now, there are definitely a lot of questions that you won't be able to answer on your own, so when that happens, go online. There are tons of online guitar communities where you can go find one that you're comfortable and just ask away. One of the biggest one I can think of is Reddit, the subreddit called Guitarists. Number 4 on the list is patience. And what is that? Well, just kidding. It's clearly not a skill, but it's very crucial because learning guitar is a marathon, not a sprint. This is true even if you have a teacher. When you're self-teaching, you will spend a lot of time figuring things out on your own. You can already see when I talk about the previous 3 skills. You will spend a lot of time watching videos, repeating just a short segment, sometimes just a few seconds long. You will need to self-diagnose problems, ask a ton of questions both to yourself and online, and possibly not find the answer. Sometimes you'd even spend a lot of time on something and it turns out super simple. So this is all part of the learning process. Just know that everything you tried and learned is a data point on your journey. None of this is ever a waste of time. A good example on this is when I was learning, once again, Cliffs of Dover. That is a song that I started learning way back when I was only about 2 years into guitar. Actually, I think it's when I first picked up the electric guitar because that was my roommate's favorite song from, of course, Guitar Hero. At the time, I had thought that, hey, I can play Metallica and it's just pentatonic, so it can't be that hard. And it's quite embarrassing to say because Cliffs of Dover is far harder than any Metallica songs, and I am not kidding. Just because it's slower doesn't mean it's easier. And over the course of the next 10 plus years, I never really sit down and try to tackle it. I would just, occasionally try it again. I would improve a little bit, but it just never sounds like the record. Until about 2 years ago, I finally decided to really sit down and study how I can really nail this sound. And then I did this 30 days challenge where I would just play the intro every day for 15 to 30 minutes, like every day, and record it, and I finally made the breakthrough. I've documented the journey. If you want to see it, it's linked down below as well. So yeah, between the time that I first attempted to learn Calypso Dover to the time that I actually finished the whole song, it was about 14 plus years. So yeah, patience is very important. So those are the 4 key skills that I believe will help you become a successful self-teaching guitarist. Now let's move on to how to read tabs and chord charts.